Hello dear students, as you all know we are doing chapter number 1. Today we are going to do 8th part of the lecture series. Till now we have done 7 lectures. If you have not seen the previous ones, you have to search for the videos in the playlist only, then you will be able to find. Today we are going to do the last lecture of the chapter 1 also. Then after we will start chapter number 2. Today we will study the last 2 applications of Gauss theorem. Okay, so let us do the first one of today. The very first application is electric field due to uniformly charged conducting sphere or thin spherical shell. So this will be the topic for the day. Let us have a sphere. It could be of conducting. It could be a thin spherical shell. What is common if it is conducting, and what is there if it is a thin spherical shell? What is common between these two criteria? Actually, for conductors we have a property that whenever we give some extra charge to the conductor, all the charge resides on its surface only. Okay, so all the charges of a conductor resides on its surface, and if it is a thin spherical shell, happens with this also same happens. When we give the charge, it resides on the surface only. Suppose we have given a charge small q to this, and all the charge is there on the surface like this. The radius of this sphere is capital. Now we have to find out electric field on 3 regions. One outside the sphere, second one on the surface, third one inside the sphere. Let us do it then one by one. Suppose we have taken a point here outside the sphere, which is at a distance small r from the sphere. Now containing this point, we draw a Gaussian surface, which is obviously is going to be in the shape of sphere only. Okay. Now at this point, if we take an area of element, the direction of area element will be towards outside, and the direction of electric field will be in this direction only, because from positive charge the electric field is away. Now we are calculating outside the sphere. Okay, flux passing through outside the sphere phi is equal to through Gaussian surface. This was best. Flux passing through Gaussian surface outside the sphere, phi is equal to surface integration of E vector dot ds vector, which is equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught. Now when we solve this EDS, it will become EDS cos 0 because they are in same direction. Q enclosed, whole of the sphere is there inside the Gaussian surface, so whole charge will be taken into whole charge will be considered. Now that value of cos 0 is 1, EDS will be equal to E is taken out of the integration, surface integration of ds is equal to q upon epsilon naught, or E into 4 pi r square, which is surface area, is equal to q upon epsilon naught, or E can be written as q upon 4 pi epsilon naught into what? R square. 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught can be written as K, Kq upon r square. E is equal to kq by r square. K is constant, q will not change. So E is proportional to what? 1 by r square. Basically E is inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the point from the center of the sphere. This is the center of the sphere. So basically when we go away from the surface, the electric field decreases because E is proportional to 1 by r square, right? Okay. Now let us move ahead. Second is on the surface. So for on the surface, what we do, in place of a small r, for on the surface, it will be capital R. So electric field will be kq by capital R square, which is constant. Okay, it is not varying. It means that at every point on the surface of the sphere, the electric field remains constant. Okay, and now for the points inside, what happens? Third, inside the sphere, if I take a Gaussian surface of radius small r, suppose, then flux passing through Gaussian surface inside the sphere, phi will be surface integration of E vector dot ds is equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught. But all the charges are there on the surface. There is no charge inside the sphere, and because of that, q enclosed is 0, and because of that, electric field is 0. Okay, electric field is 0 inside the sphere if it is conducting solid sphere or if it is conducting a thin spherical shell. Okay, so this is the second last application. Let us move to the last application. A very important thing about it, the graph, the variation of electric field. So for that, let us draw the graph. Don't worry about the notes. It will be there in the description link. Variation of electric field with distance from the center. So till the value of distance becomes surface, radius of the surface, electric field is 0, because inside electric field is 0 everywhere. But at the surface, it is E, which is equal to kq by r square, and then after, electric field decreases as the square of the distance from the center. So this is how the graph is there. Okay. Now let us move to the next topic. Last application करते हैं. Let us do the last application, and it is the sixth one in the series. Sixth one is the last. Electric field due to uniformly charged insulating sphere. Now, what is the difference between conducting sphere and insulating sphere? For insulating sphere, what happens? When you give the charge, then the charge distributed along its volume, across its volume. Okay, charge will be distributed across its volume, and since it is uniformly charged, the charge will be distributed all over the volume. Okay. Suppose we have given a charge small q to the sphere. Let this be its radius. Its radius is capital R. So for a point outside the sphere, the things are same. Okay. Whole of the charge is inside this Gaussian surface. At a distance r, if we have taken this is the area vector. Let this be direction of ds. In the same direction, electric field will be So whole of the calculation we have done earlier also, and the formula will remain same, and it will be surface integration of E vector dot ds vector is equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught. It will become q. For this it will become E into 4 pi r square. It is equal to q upon epsilon naught. And then after E is equal to what? 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r square, which we can write kq upon r square. I have done it in hurry because we have done it already. We have done it in the previous one. For the surface also the derivation remains same, just we have done. But inside the sphere it will be something different. Inside the sphere it will be something different, and that thing I wanted you to know. So let us discuss for the case when we take a Gaussian surface inside the sphere, right? Somewhere here. Suppose this is the Gaussian surface which I have taken. Let this radius be smaller. Capital R is the radius of the original sphere. Now we will calculate volume charge density rho, which is total charge upon volume of the sphere, and it will become 3q upon 4 pi r cube. Charge enclosed in the Gaussian surface, Q enclosed is given by what is the charge density, that is a rho, and what is the volume of that Gaussian surface, 4 by 3 pi is small r cube. Charge per unit volume multiplied by volume. Okay, so what we are going to have? Value of rho from here 3q upon 4 pi r cube multiplied by 4 by 3 pi small r cube. All the things will be cancelled out, and we are going to have q enclosed is equal to 4 pi will be cancelled out, 3 will be cancelled out, q r cube upon capital R cube. So this will be the value of charge enclosed. Now from Gauss law, surface integration of E vector dot ds vector, which gives us the value of total flux, is equal to q enclosed upon epsilon naught. Okay. So for that thing, if we solve it, what we are going to have? EDS, E will be out of the integration. For ds it will be 4 pi r square. So many times we have done so. Now q enclosed upon epsilon naught. For q enclosed we have here qr cube upon r cube. So what we are going to write? Qr cube upon capital R cube, and epsilon naught already there. So r square is cancelled and 1 r will be left here. So what we are going to have? E is equal to E into 4 pi is transferred to this side. So Q into R upon 4 pi epsilon naught R cube. This will be the value of electric field. 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught can be written as K. That is E is equal to K Q R upon capital R. Now one very interesting factor from here is E is proportional to R. E is proportional to R inside the sphere. E is proportional to R inside the sphere. Outside the sphere, E is proportional to 1 by R square, but inside it is E is proportional to R. So when we plot graph for the variation of electric field, then how that graph will be? The graph will be like, if this is R, this is E. So when the small r is equal to capital R, which is the radius of the sphere, till here electric field is proportional to small r, and then after it decreases, E is proportional to 1 by r square, and it has a maximum value of E is equal to kq upon capital R square. Okay, so this is a very interesting factor that inside the sphere electric field increases with the distance from the center. At the center the electric field becomes 0 because R is equal to 0, E will become 0. Okay, so this is all about this thing, the sphere. So this is how the Gauss law is done. Now one more very important topic is there, and that very important topic is electric dipole. This topic is left. So first of all we'll finish this topic, and then after we'll do the next chapter. Okay, so let us start electric dipole. Electric dipole. What is an electric dipole? So it is an arrangement of two equal and opposite charges separated by a small distance, and that very distance we are going to take as 2L. It is an arrangement of two equal and opposite charges separated by a small distance. For every dipole we define electric dipole moment. What is electric dipole moment? So it is denoted by P, and it is equal to product of one of the charge and the separation between them. Product of one of the charge and the separation between them, and it is a vector quantity. It is directed from minus q to plus q. Okay, its direction is from minus q to plus q. Okay, its unit will be charge coulomb, 12 meter, so its unit will be coulomb meter, and it is a vector quantity. Dipole moment tell us about the strength of the dipole. Okay, dipole moment tell us about the strength of the dipole. Now, a very important topic, and which is there in your syllabus. What is that important topic is electric dipole in a uniform electric field. Electric field. Okay, suppose this is your negative charge and this is your positive charge. Separation between them is 2L. So now what happens? Dipole is kept like this. Let this angle be theta. This is your electric field. Now what happens? Plus Q charge will experience a force which is in this direction. Minus Q charge will experience a force which is in this direction, because negative charges are pulled opposite to the electric field. Now what happens? These two forces will produce a torque, and for torque we have a formula which is force multiplied by perpendicular distance between force. So what is the value of force? It is QE. And what is the perpendicular distance? The perpendicular distance is this much. If this distance is 12, this angle is theta, then this distance is going to be 12 sine theta. The perpendicular distance is given by 12 sine theta. Q multiplied by 12, it is P, which is the electric dipole moment, which I have told you just now. So torque is equal to what? P sine theta. Or in vector form we write torque vector is equal to P vector cross E vector. Okay, for different values of theta, like suppose if theta is equal to 0 degree, torque will be 0 because sine 0 is 0. If theta is equal to 90 degree, then torque is equal to PE, which is maximum. And if theta is equal to 180 degree, then also torque becomes 0. So this condition is called stable equilibrium, and this condition is called unstable equilibrium. Okay, theta is equal to 0 is called stable equilibrium, and theta is equal to 180 degree called unstable equilibrium. Okay, remember the condition: 0 stable, 180 unstable. Now for electric dipole, two very small topics are there. Let us finish the chapter today itself. One is electric field due to dipole. Electric field due to electric dipole. There are two cases. One is axial point, another is equatorial point. What do we mean by axial point? If this is the minus charge, this is the plus charge, so the line joining minus q and plus q is called axis of the dipole, and all the points on the axis of the dipole are called axial points. Suppose we have taken a point P over here, which is at a distance r from the center of the dipole. Now due to plus q, the electric field will be in this direction, and due to minus q, the electric field will be in this direction. Okay? The value of E1 is given by KQ, formula for electric field is KQ upon R square. So what is the separation between Q and P? Let the separation between charges 2L. From here till here it is L. So from here till here it will be R minus L. R minus L whole square. And for minus Q it is KQ upon R plus L whole square. From here till here R plus L. Okay. Now just you can see in the diagram that E1 and E2 are in opposite direction. So net electric field is given by E1 minus E2. When we subtract, we can take KQ common. Then we have 1 upon R minus L whole square minus 1 upon R plus L whole square. KQ is common. We have R plus L whole square minus R minus L whole square. On A minus B, A plus B, it can be written as R square minus L square whole square. Now just see, if you expand R plus L whole square, it will be like R square plus L square plus 2RL. If you expand R minus L whole square, it will be R square plus L square minus 2RL. R square and L square will be cancelled out, and we'll have KQ 2RL plus 2RL will become 4RL upon R square minus L square whole square. Now from 4RL, if we take 2L with Q, Q multiplied by 12 will be P. Then we have electric field is equal to K into P into 2R upon R square minus L square whole square. Now L is very, very less than R, because in the definition of dipole it is told the separation is very small. And if L is very small, then L is neglected over here. It will become R square, it will become R to the power 4, 1 R will be cancelled out. And we have 2kP upon RQ. So this is the formula for electric field when we talk about at axial points. Now just see, E1 is greater than E2, the net electric field will be in this direction, which is the direction of dipole movement. Dipole movement is defined by from minus Q to plus Q. Net is in the same direction. In vector form we can write, in vector form, E vector is equal to RQ. So this is the formula for electric field at axial point, and it is in the vector form. Now next topic and the last topic of this chapter, and that topic is at equatorial point. Equatorial point. What are equatorial points? The points which lies on the perpendicular bisector plane, like suppose this is your minus q, this is your plus q. The perpendicular bisector of the axis, this plane, this very plane is called equatorial plane. All the points on that plane are equatorial point. Suppose this is a point P. Due to plus Q, the electric field will be in this direction, and due to minus Q, electric field will be in this direction. Okay? Now what happens? If this angle is theta, this angle is theta, so we have this angle is theta and this theta angle is also theta. So for E1 we have a component here which is E1 cos theta, and we have a component in this direction which is E1 sin theta. For E2 we have in this direction we have E2 cos theta, and in this direction we have E2 sin theta. This whole distance is 2L. From the center the point P is at R distance suppose, then this very distance will be under root L square plus R square. Same goes with this L square plus R square. Now the value of E1 is given by KQ upon under root L square plus R square का whole square. Under root will be vanished. It will be KQ upon R square plus L square. Okay. The value of E2 is given by KQ upon under root L square plus R square whole square. Under root will be cancelled. It will be KQ upon R square plus L square. So since E1 and E2 in the magnitude they are equal, therefore that E1 sin theta which is in this direction and E2 sin theta which is in this direction, they are opposite to each other. So E1 sin theta and E sin theta cancels each other, and therefore E net will be equal to E1 cos theta plus E2 cos theta. Now E1 and E2 both are equal. If we take it common, we'll have KQ upon R square plus L square 2 cos theta. For cos theta in this right angle triangle, this base is L, this hypotenuse is under root this much. We can write KQ upon R square plus L square into 2L upon R square plus L square per power 1 by 2. Now what happens? Q multiplied by 12, it will become P. So K into P upon, it will become R square plus L square power 3 by 2, because 1 by 2 and 1 power will be added and it will become 3 by 2. Now what happens? L is very less than R. If you neglect L over here, so it will become R square power 3 by 2. 2 and 2 power will be cancelled out. It will become R cube. So E net will be equal to what? It will be Kp upon R cube. Okay, Kp upon R cube. And in vector form, E net vector is equal to Kp vector upon R cube, but in negative sign. Why I put a negative sign? Because the net electric field is in this direction, in the direction of E1 cos theta and E2 cos theta, and the dipole moment is from -q to +q. So from the dipole moment is in this direction and electric field is in this direction, they are opposite to each other. That's why I put a minus sign. So this is all for the chapter number 1. Okay, chapter number 1 is all about these topics only. Now you have to solve your NCERT questions. If you have any doubt, let me know. Okay, we'll take one more video of NCERT questions. Otherwise, this will be the final lecture of the chapter number 1. This is all for the day. Thank you.